Trailers come in all shapes and sizes and do all kinds of jobs. But one thing they all have in common is that they use bearings to carry the load, and those bearings have to be properly maintained. This video will show you how to replace, lubricate, and adjust your trailer wheel bearings. After removing the wheel and hub assembly from the trailer, use a seal puller to remove the seal. Discard the seal and then remove the inner bearing cone assembly from the hub. We have already determined these bearings need to be replaced. If you're just cleaning the bearing assemblies, you don't need to remove the cups. Use high flash point mineral spirits to remove old lubricant from the components. Inspect the hub assembly. If the bearing races are corroded, damaged, worn, or discolored, replace the bearing. If the bearings need to be replaced, use a cup driver or mild steel bar to remove the inner and outer cups from the hub assembly. You can pack the bearings by hand or with a grease packer. Either way, wear a new pair of chemical-resistant nitrile or neoprene gloves. Place a golf ball-sized amount of grease into your palm. Use your opposite hand to push the large end of the bearing cone assembly into the grease, forcing grease between the rollers, cage, and cone. Rotate the cone assembly while pushing the grease until it's forced out around the entire small end. Smear any excess grease on the outside of the bearing cone assembly. If you're using a mechanical grease packer, place the small end of the bearing cone assembly into the grease packer funnel. Plug the bore of the large end of the bearing cone assembly with the conical retainer. Firmly press the conical retainer to force grease between the rollers, cage, and cone. If you're replacing the bearings, use a cup driver or mild steel bar to drive the inner and outer cup into the hub assembly until seated solidly against the hub shoulder. Be careful not to damage the cup surfaces. Never use a bearing cone assembly or hardened steel bar to drive a cup into place. Apply a ring of NLGI number 1 or 2 grease into the entire circumference of the wheel hub. The hub should only be half full of grease. Too much grease causes churning in higher temperatures. Also, coat the hubcap inner wall with grease to protect the metal surface from corrosion. Install the inner bearing cone assembly and seal in the hub. Always replace the grease seals. Make sure the seal lips are pointed in the right direction following the manufacturer's specification. Use the proper tool to install the new seal. Clean and inspect the spindle. If wear is excessive, you'll need to repair the spindle or replace the entire axle. If there are minor imperfections, debris, nicks, or burrs, remove them with a fine file, wire brush, emery cloth, or honing stone. Slide the hub assembly over the spindle. Be careful not to damage the seal on the spindle. Install the outer bearing cone assembly, washer, and adjusting nut on the spindle. Tighten the adjusting nut to 25 foot-pounds while turning the hub. The torque needed to rotate the hub will increase, indicating the parts are correctly seated. Back the adjusting nut off 1/6 to 1/4 of a turn to create the required end play. Place the locking clip over the adjusting nut to prevent it from backing off. To measure end play, mount the dial indicator base as close as possible to the center of the hub. Place the indicator tip against the end of the spindle. Grasp the hub at 3 and 9 o'clock. Push it in while oscillating, then stop and note the indicator position. Now, pull the hub out while oscillating, then stop and note the indicator position again. Now calculate the total indicator movement. It should be between 1 and 5 thousandths of an inch. If it's more than that, tighten the axle nut and recheck the end play. Finally, reinstall the grease cap. The bearings have now been correctly installed, lubricated, and adjusted, which can lead to many more miles of reliable life. This has been a Timken Tricks of the Trade video, helping you build your service knowledge. Thanks to Majestic Trailer and Hitch for the use of their facilities and equipment. Visit timken.com/aftermarket for more information. Thanks for watching.